Hello there, how are you doing? Hope all is well. Sorry I've been away for a little while. I was actually doing some live events. I was talking about Infratech about 2 weeks ago, which is quite exciting. Here with my firm and people all around the world, as it turned out, but I was the one representing Asia, which was quite good fun. If you do want to take part in those events or watch them, they're usually free. I think they're almost always free, actually, no matter what I speak at. Just follow me on LinkedIn. You'll be able to find it through that. Now, I'm going to talk about something I've been asked to talk about, and I'm going to try and keep it relatively short. It is a gorgeous day here in Hong Kong, which you can't see. It is, the light's reflecting off the buildings. We had a big typhoon at the weekend, we've got another one on the way. That normally means the weather's good for a little bit before that happens. Maybe I'll do a picture as the title screen for this video, who knows. But lots of people are asking me what is going on with China, which is a big question. But more specifically, it's asking me what is going on with China's ban hammer. Why is China banning so much? So I've done a list of things that China has banned. So it's clamped down on technology companies. It hasn't banned them, it's banned them doing certain things. It seems to be breaking them up. It's banned tutoring services. So private tutoring has come under the ban hammer. Essentially they went, no more of this, literally closed them down in a heartbeat, causing a massive stock crash. Essentially, if you invested in a tutoring company, you lost all of your money. But that's gone. They've banned fan culture, so any internet celebrity who becomes too popular, or any celebrity who becomes too popular, may find themselves in trouble. They've banned effeminate men. Don't really get the logic behind that. There's something to do before. I think they're trying to blame it for the lowering birth rate, or that men who are effeminate aren't manly enough for them. I don't know. I'm not even going to go into that one. But more recently, they banned video games, which is something I've talked about before, which I think is a travesty. You can't play online if you're a kid. You will never become an esports giant. But the big one, the one that had everyone texting me, so I was in a taxi in Hong Kong, and I get this message going, cryptocurrency has just been banned in China. And I was like, well, banned? How have they actually banned it? Have they passed a law to get rid of it? No, they've just told the People's Bank of China no more can they accept anything or do any transactions, and said any transaction related to cryptocurrency is banned. Anyone who is essentially dealing with cryptocurrency will get into trouble. Any employee of an organization who is trading or selling cryptocurrency within China would also get into trouble. One of my questions is, would a Chinese employee of an overseas crypto company be in trouble as well? My assumption is yes, if they're in China, but I assume if they are, if they aren't, they're probably not going to go back there at the moment until they get more clarity on what's going on. So yeah, it's all interesting that these things are being clamped down on one after the other. Essentially, it's almost as if Xi Jinping goes, we don't want that, and does the Thanos and makes it all just disappear. But what does that mean? So for the cryptocurrency one, we watched crypto completely collapse. And then whoop, it's gone back up again, as cryptocurrency always does. It seems to bounce back from no matter what ails it. It's a big blow in terms China was one of the biggest markets for crypto, certainly was one of the biggest mining markets, and that's been stopped, and now it's been stopped in terms of trading. Although think about it, cryptocurrency, a decentralized currency that can be traded online, where isn't being controlled by any one government, any one body essentially. I don't really think it's possible to ban it, although I suppose you could get into trouble if you use it. But there we go, it's gone. Similarly, in terms of the tech companies being clamped down on, similarly in terms of the tutoring, which I think is potentially huge. If you're only familiar with China's education system, it is incredibly competitive, but it makes you wonder what's going to be next. Now, I often get asked, how is China able to do this? Now, you've got to understand, and if you've been watching my videos for long enough, maybe you do, and if you've been watching China anyway, maybe you do, it's a very different system in China in terms of how the government and the legal system works versus how it works in, say, the West. Let's use the UK or the US as an example. Laws don't tend to be very detailed, setting out exactly what you can and can't do as they do in a common law system, as indeed they do here in Hong Kong. They tend to be a little bit more of a statement of intent, and they get built up with further regulations, further rules as time goes on. And that's just the way the system works, and it's worked in China for a while, and everyone seems relatively happy with it over there. Maybe not cryptocurrency traders, but there we go. But it does seem quite alien if you're an entity doing business in China who is used to the common law, or at least the non-Chinese system. And I get asked for advice. So one thing I'm asked is what's going to be banned next? And I've already told them it's going to be data transfers, because we already have new laws basically on the books now that stops the transfer of personal data, so you need to do something about that. But what could be next? It's impossible to know. you have to rather draw some political conclusions to what is happening in China and essentially come up with well, these are things that the Chinese government may say are going against those goals. Now, at the moment, certainly in light of the Evergrande crisis, if you're not familiar with that, massive, massive property giant, massive, massive amount of debt, can't pay the debt, all a terrible mess, all slowly collapsing everywhere and trying to figure out what's going on. Read the FT, I suppose, if you want to hear more about that one, or indeed any financial paper. But with the collapse of Evergrande, I imagine there'll be more controls in terms of what people are doing with their money. Now, the cryptocurrency thing is a good example. I don't think cryptocurrency is just being banned to protect the individual, saying, right, we don't want you to get ripped off. I think it's being banned because China's launched its digital renminbi and it wants to make that the dominant electronic, it's not a cryptocurrency, electronic currency operating essentially in China. I would imagine at some point the digital renminbi will be seen as a thing to replace the use of WeChat Pay and Alipay, which is dominant at the moment. Why is that? Well, as friends who are better than me that are describing this, particularly a chap I know called Andrew Work, by all means look him up. But the digital renminbi allows essentially the Chinese treasury, the Chinese state, to monitor every use of a digital yuan, a renminbi, wherever it is, anywhere in the world. They can control it. I suppose if they wanted to, if you'd done something wrong, they could strip all your money out of you at the push of a button. But it is a lot about control. And when you come to the conclusion that a lot of what's going on in China is about control and trying to essentially mold the state, I suppose, into being, I think under Xi Jinping, less capitalist, certainly less state capitalist as it is a little bit now, certainly more communist and redistribute wealth a bit more. They're trying to, for example, clamp down on people with excessive wealth, and you see what's happening. Fan culture, I think, goes to that. Lots of celebrities throwing lots of money around, but we will see. But for the rest of the world, this means that dealing with China is, as it always has been, but perhaps even more than before, very unpredictable. It's great if you're a lawyer because people keep asking you for, what does this mean? Can we have some advice? Not so great for a lawyer because sometimes you think, we don't really know. We can't just look at the law like we would in other jurisdictions. We've got to try and think what's behind this, what's the intention. But it's not going to, I don't think it's going to get any better anytime soon. What I do see though is it's become contagious. Certainly in Hong Kong, we're going the same way, although our laws tend to be more specific. By the way, the doxing law is now in effect, and the government has been discussing an anti-insult law which will make it illegal to insult, I think, just officials and the police, but maybe anybody, which would be quite interesting. I don't really know what the penalty would be. Maybe it would be you have to shout sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me very loudly at the person. I don't know, I can only hope. But certainly we're going in the same route of using laws to essentially mould society. We've seen that a lot. I think we're seeing it now in Singapore too, where they've passed their own anti-foreign interference law, which again has got some people concerned about what they can say and do under that law. So it's a real epoch change. It's a real doing business in Asia, not more difficult necessarily, but different. You've got to be more aware, not just of consulting a lawyer and going in, but what the political situation is. And we will see how this develops. I find it, maybe I'm an idiot, but I find it incredibly interesting just seeing what's going to happen next, but also sometimes a little bit scary. For example, here in Hong Kong, we have very tight quarantine rules, which means that I haven't been anywhere for, nearly 2 years now. Things like that can be very frustrating, and lots of my friends have thought about leaving Hong Kong as a result of this. But again, I can see why it's happening. It's coming from leading from the top. It's following China's lead. But it's just something you have to get used to. We will see what happens next in terms of who gets into trouble and what is banned, what is decided it's not allowed. I do worry that it is going to become more difficult for foreign entities to do business in China. I'm hoping it won't become more difficult in Hong Kong, but we'll see. But I do think you've got to do your research before you go in, and you definitely have to get advice, not just legal advice, tax advice, advice on local customs in some respects. And I guess that's not any different to what it was when I first moved to Hong Kong all those years ago. It's just that maybe the reasons you need to do that research are slightly different. So we'll see. Exciting times, particularly if we get another typhoon here, particularly if China goes and bans something else. We still have the fear, well, I have the fear here in Hong Kong that they may at some point ban access to the internet, that we may find the Great Firewall hits us and we'll have to face internet censorship. But at the moment, I haven't got any wood to touch, so I'll use this. At the moment, that is not the case, but we don't know. It's hard to say what's going to be next. It does seem a bit that laws are passed very quickly, bans are made very quickly, and the climate here, the political climate, the legal climate in this part of the world is changing more quickly than I have ever seen before. So, exciting times ahead. Hopefully there'll be good times. If you have any questions, if you have anything you'd like me to cover in a future video, please do let me know. Just set a comment here on LinkedIn or on YouTube, whatever one you prefer. And I'll be back very, very soon. In the meantime, I'm going to make the most of this sunshine, and wherever you are, I hope it's just as nice. Take care. See you soon.